It is 7 o'clock on Monday, September 5th, 2023, and we're going to call this meeting of the Sault Ste. Marie City Commission to order. Could we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Gary,
Here.
Commissioner Bauer,
Here.
Commissioner Bosbus Rath,
Here.
Commissioner Habusta, Commissioner Marble, Commissioner Miller, Commissioner Rubenstein.
Here.
Thank you.
Pretty easy roll call. Commissioners Miller, Commissioner Hubusta, and Commissioner Marble all were unable to come this evening and did give us advance notice. Would anybody like to make a motion to excuse?
Motion
Good.
Motion to excuse Commissioner Marble, Habusta, and Miller.
Support.
Been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. They are excused. If everybody could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. Item 4, mayor comments and general announcements. I'd like to thank Mayor Pro Tem Bauer for filling in for me last meeting on August 24th when I was away on work. Appreciate it, and it was a great meeting, and I'll try to keep it to the same time frame.
Thank you.
Our meeting prior to that was on August 8th, and on August 9th, I know it was a long time ago now, but we had a mayor's exchange with the city of Boyne City, Michigan. I should say a community exchange with the community of Boyne City, Michigan. It was previously known as Mayor Exchange. And just wanted to say, certainly appreciate all the department heads, administration for everything that they did to make this come off perfectly. We had Senator Stabenow, we got to meet with Senator Stabenow, Senator DeMoose, Mayor Shoemaker from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Some of the places that we went were the Fire Hall, River History Museum, Center for Freshwater Research Excellence at Lake Superior State University. We got to tour the Cloverland site, U.S. Coast Guard facility, Precision Edge. We got a great tour of the LOX project and complex. And again, Lake Superior State University, we got to drive the Zamboni and ride on the Zamboni. And we certainly did show them a good time, and it was really a good bonding experience, I think, for all of the administration, for all the department heads, and for both cities to see some of the different things that we have and some of the different things that Boyne City has. It really was a lot of fun, and look forward to doing those in the future. You really, I think we'll see benefit from that going forward. August 15th, the MDNR was in town, and want to say thanks to city staff and administration for meeting with them and touring them around all the projects that they have been involved with funding, and hopefully will be involved with funding in the future. Certainly was a good, I didn't go on the tour, but I heard it was an excellent tour, and certainly the social hour was fun too. I wanted to thank Commissioner Habusta for our invite to Lakerpalooza. It's always a fun time when Lake Superior State University students come back, and it was on Friday, and it really is a vibrant community. Lots of fun to see all the students actively just having a good time and getting oriented to the university, and also thanks to all the vendors that show up from different areas within the Sioux. So, obviously, today was first day of school, so I think every year we make the PSA to please slow down and watch for the school buses and watch for the kids walking to school. And something we like to mention every year, it doesn't matter where that crossing guard is in the walk, you cannot enter. It is against the law. So any direction, you cannot enter if the crossing guard is in that walkway. So please slow down and be careful. We have a joint meeting with City of Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario coming up on Monday, September 25th. It'll be at 5 p.m. City Hall. It'll be on TV, and also please come in person. Those are always really a great event. Also, coming up September 18th through 22nd here in Sault Ste. Marie is the 9th Coast Guard District's Cutter Roundup. There are 9 Coast Guard ice cutters within that district, and 8 of the 9 will be here with full staffs, and there will be between 250 and 300 men and women serving in the U.S. Coast Guard here in Sault Ste. Marie. So that's September 18th through 22nd, and certainly the ships or the boats will be on the water line, and there will be more announcements coming. He got hooked up with Linda Hoth today, so we know that we'll be pushing that. So, moving on into item B, which is proclamations and recognitions. This is in recognition of National Rail Safety Week. So, I'll read the proclamation. City of Sault Ste. Marie recognition of National Rail Safety Week. Whereas Rail Safety Week is to be held across the United States from September 18th to 24th, 2023. And whereas 2,194 rail grade crossing collisions resulted in 803 personal injuries and were responsible for 274 fatalities in the United States during 2022. And whereas 1,208 pedestrian trespassing casualties have occurred in the United States, resulting in 658 pedestrians being killed and another 550 injured while trespassing on railroad property rights of way during 2022. And whereas educating and informing the public about rail safety, reminding the public that railroad right-of-ways are private property, enhancing public awareness of the dangers associated with highway, rail, grade crossings, ensuring pedestrians and motorists are looking and listening while near railways, and obeying established traffic laws will reduce the number of avoidable fatalities and injuries caused by incidents involving trains and citizens. And whereas the International Association of Chiefs of Police, National Operation Lifesaver, United States Department of Transportation, and all local, state, county, and railroad law enforcement officers, first responders, and railroad corporations commit to partnering together in an effort to educate at a national level all aspects of railroad safety, to enforce applicable laws in support of National Rail Safety Week. Therefore, I, Don Gary, Mayor of the City of Sault Ste. Marie, do hereby attest my full support proclaiming September 18 to 24, 2023, National Rail Safety Week, and I encourage all citizens to recognize the importance of rail safety education. In witness thereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Sault Ste. Marie to be affixed this 5th day of September 2023. So moving on into item C, which is public comment. Is there anybody in the audience this evening that would like to make any comments on any of our agenda items? No? In public comment, sure. Okay. All right. All right. We'll move on into item D, the consent agenda. And this evening we have Erica Gordon, Deputy City Clerk. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Number 1 on consent agenda is the approval of City Commission meeting minutes of August 21st, 2023. Item 2 is the acceptance of Sault Ste. Marie Housing Commission meeting minutes of July 20th, 2023. Item 3 is the reappointment of Kristen Collins, Brian Chapman, Matt Casey, and new appointment of Keenan Wojnarski to the DPW unit PEHP. Item 4 is the reappointment of Kristen Collins, Brian Chapman, Andy Morrison, and Paul Young to the Firefighters, Fire Captains Unit, PEHP. Item 5 is the reappointment of Kristen Collins, Brian Chapman, Kristen Ator, and Lauren Smart Gerke to the Police Patrol and Police Records Unit, PEHP. Item 6 is consideration of change order number 001 with Coleman Engineering for the M129 Water and Drainage Project. Item 7 is the consideration of scheduling a public hearing for the September 18th, 2023 City Commission meeting to consider the adoption of a resolution vacating the full length and width of the alley within Stowell's Addition, Block 3, with the retention of utility easements. Item 8 has been requested to be held and moved on to the next meeting by the EDC. Number 9 is consideration of public hearing for 538 in Sault Ste. Marie Brownfield Plan. Item 10 is the consideration of public hearing for 5-year extension of the LDFA tax capture. And 11 is approval of consent agenda items as presented, with the exception of item 8.
Thank you, Deputy City Clerk. So we'll scratch number 8 from tonight's consent agenda. Is there any other item that anybody would like to remove for individual consideration or have further explained? Seeing none, Commissioner Bauer.
So moved, we pass tonight's consent agenda with the exception of item number 8.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. All right, moving on into, looks like we're skipping down into item G, business items. City Manager Chapman.
You want to do
Right
communications?
to business, huh?
You want to do communications?
Yeah, you can if you want to. Is there one on there?
No. All righty. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up first for commission consideration is a consideration of a bid award for City Hall lighting Phase 1. Commission may recall the city staff applied for a grant through Eagle for some efficiency upgrades to City Hall. We were awarded about $35,000 in the grant. Staff put out a bid for several upgrades to lighting fixtures throughout the building, as well as some electrical improvements for some ghost electrical issues we've been having. This particular item has 3 motions to it. Motion to award the bid to J Rank in the amount of $41,200. Motion to approve change order number 1 to reduce the contract scope to $35,000. And motion to amend the budget for city manager, $10,000 come from land sales.
Thank you, City Manager. Any questions or comments for City Manager? I know that Commissioner Bospas-Rath loves these.
I've already practiced.
3 more, okay. Would you like to make the motion? Zuh?
Absolutely. Motion to award bid to sole bidder J Rank Electric Incorporated, a local Michigan firm, in the amount of $41,200.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Commissioner Bospas-Rath.
Motion to approve change order number 001 to reduce contract scope to available funding in the amount of $35,000.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Commissioner Bospas-Rath.
Motion to amend budget for city match of $10,000 to come from land sales.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All 3 motions passed unanimously. Thank you. G, business items, number 2, City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is a request to approve a bid for the purchase of 3 new sludge pumps at the wastewater treatment plant. This project was budgeted for this current budget. We put in about $150,000 for it. The prices for the pumps actually were less than what we anticipated, so we're actually going to buy 3 pumps, and the staff will replace them at the wastewater treatment plant during the winter months. So 2 motions for this one. Motion to award the bid to Pump Solutions, the amount of $80,512. And a motion to amend the project budget from $150,000 to $100,000 with excess funds of $50,000 returned to sewer capital reserves.
Any questions for the City Manager? Commissioner Rubenstein.
Motion to award bid to Pump Solutions in the amount of $80,512.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Commissioner Rubenstein.
Motion to amend the project budget from $150,000 to $100,000 with excess funds of $50,000 returned to sewer capital reserves.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments for the City Manager? All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Didn't want us to show the pictures? No. We're good? Okay. Under G, business items, number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is a approval of a bid and budget amendment related to some infrastructure upgrades on East Portage Avenue. There are currently 91 sewer structures on East Portage Avenue ranging from sanitary to stormwater. MDOT has proposed to fund the project. The city will manage, bid out and manage the project. Project's about $72,200. Essentially, what the company will do is come into the manhole structures and spray a foam on there to minimize any infill and infiltration from rainwater getting in, as well as provide a support for those structures. So the project was bid out. We received a bid. We're recommending it be awarded to Blair Spray Foam out of Lake City in the amount of $72,200. And we're requesting to establish a project budget for that dollar amount to be 100% funded by MDOT out of their maintenance funds.
All right, any questions or comments for the city manager or Commissioner Bauer?
So move, we approve the award of work with the recommendation of MDOT to Blair Spray Foam out of Lake City, Michigan, in the amount of $72,200.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Commissioner Bauer?
I further move to establish a project budget in the amount of $72,200, 100% funded by the Michigan Department of Transportation Region Maintenance Funds.
Support.
Any questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you. G, business items, number 4, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is resolution and establishment of a budget for new bathrooms at Rotary Park. This is a project that's been worked on for quite some time, mostly by the Rotary Club. They've had a number of fundraisers over the past several years to try to create the match for a Michigan Natural Resource Trust Fund grant application in order to build new bathrooms at Rotary Park. Right now, the bathrooms at Rotary Park are the pit toilets. They're old, they're outdated, they're not really that desirable. So Rotary has been working with engineering on the grant application. They're proposing a couple new bathrooms down there and a gazebo-type structure, what would be on the west side of the trout fishing pond, so not the Rotary Island part, but the other side of the trout pond, excuse me. So for funding sources, we have $124,600 to come from Rotary. That was their fundraisers they've done for the number of years. And the trust fund grant for $275,400 from the Michigan Natural Resources. So we look for a motion to reapprove the resolution for the grant with an increase of $60,000 in city match, and a motion for a budget amendment for the project with $60,000 coming from the gaming fund, $124,600 from Rotary, and a state MNRTF grant in the amount of $275,400.
Thank you, City Manager. Anybody have any questions on this project? Sure, Commissioner Brossbus-Rath.
What would be the timeline for the new bathrooms? Do they know?
So the grant application should be announced probably within a month or two here in October. So once those are announced, if we are awarded, which we're certain we are, if we are awarded, the winter months would be design and engineering of it. Depending on how smooth that goes, you could see a bid maybe late spring, early summer, depending on construction season. Maybe it starts next summer, maybe it starts the summer after that. So if it's a quick turnaround, it could be this summer, but I mean, it could be next summer also, or not, or at the end of summer, yeah, in 2 summers, yeah.
I think they started talking about it in the 90s, so. If you get it done in the next 2 years, we'll be in good shape. All right, so any other questions or comments? Sure, Commissioner Bauer.
Yeah, it kind of goes without saying, but kudos to Rotary, not just for this project, but for all the good things they do for the community. This is not the beginning or the end of that list.
Absolutely. Great club, and they've done a lot for the community. So who would like to make the motion? Commissioner Brossbus-Rath?
Sure. Motion to approve the resolution with an increase of 60,000 in city match.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye, sorry. Any opposed? Commissioner Vastus Rath.
Motion for budget amendment to the project to reflect the grant application of 60,000 to come from gaming, 124,600 to come from Rotary, and a state MNRTF grant in the amount of 275,400.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Both motions passed unanimously. Thank you. Under G, business items, number 5, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is the selection of an alternate delegate to the annual MML convention. The mayor will serve as a primary delegate, but just as a backup, the MML has us nominate one for official voting reasons. Aside from the mayor going to the MML convention, we have Commissioner Habusta and Commissioner Miller, so one of them would need to be identified as the delegate.
Commissioner Rubenstein? I saw you hit your microphone.
No, I was just gonna say that I know Commissioner Habusta has a strong desire to go and be the alternate delegate, so
Okay.
I think it'd be a good
Support.
person to go.
Been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? He will be our alternate delegate. G, business items, number 6, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next is just a request to go into closed session pursuant to Michigan Open Meetings Act for the purposes of negotiation and collective bargaining agreements in accordance with Section 8C of the Open Meetings Act. And we will have no follow-up action after this. It'll just be direction from the commission.
All right, so do we have a motion to go into closed session and not return at the end of this meeting? Yes.
Then we have one public comment.
Yeah, we're not closing yet.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
just
All right.
do,
Yeah.
yep.
Still more work to do.
Commissioner Bauer?
Yes, I move that we enter into closed session for strategy and negotiation sessions connected with the negotiation of collective bargaining agreements in accordance with Section 8C of the State of Michigan Open Meetings Act at the end of this meeting.
Support.
Been moved and supported. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We will be moving into closed session at the end of this meeting. Moving on into H, City Manager announcements and updates.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple things for the commission tonight. Just as a follow-up item from the last commission meeting, Commissioner Rubenstein asked for an update regarding park security cameras. I talked to Director Perrin last week or so, and we are researching and we'll probably buy some game-type trail cameras with the kind of SIM cards that will be able to shoot to a staff member's phone in between certain hours. We're not going to buy them for implementation now because at the end of the summer, once it gets colder, the vandalism typically goes down substantially. So we will look to see what our budget is near the end of winter to buy them for the beginning of spring to have them in place. So we've got a few places identified. We're not sure how we would do cameras in all areas, but we do have kind of the important areas highlighted that we feel we can put the trail cameras in there and be able to capture some stuff. So we're gonna give that a try. Just as an update on the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. Got a little presentation here. He thought it was gonna be a quick meeting. Bonnie, you wanna throw it up on the TV for us? Oh, I guess I have to be connected.
Moving on.
Never mind. Wasn't that important
Skipping that.
anyways. All righty. Are we good, Bonnie? Enhance. There we go. All righty. So, Commission recall, we've been talking about the clean water. It's kind of goofy. It'll fit. The Clean Water State Revolving Fund. Last week, I sent the commission an email kind of showing what we're anticipating receiving from Eagle and the percent. So we are 95% sure we're going to receive about $35 million in funding. That is what we requested. Early indication says that we're going to get about 17.5 million of that in a grant, and 17.5 million of that will be eligible for a loan at a 2% interest rate. This is the timeline that staff and I are kind of working with in terms of getting this stuff done. Eagle has a very tight timeline. They make all communities go through this, so it's not that we dragged our feet or anything like that. This is just Eagle's process. So just a couple updates regarding where we're at with the timeline. So staff did issue a request for qualifications for engineering and construction services. We posted that last week. Those will come in on September 22nd. We'll have at the next commission meeting on October 2nd, after that, we'll have the recommendation for awarding the engineering construction contract. But prior to that, during the October 2nd meeting, we'll have a discussion regarding project scope, size, and funding. One of the things that we mentioned to the commission when we were looking at this project, it's not our desire to bring on new debt. Our desire is to add on new debt as old debt retires. And based on a lot of the CSO work done in the late and early 90s, a lot of that debt is starting to fall off next year, year after, and I think a sizable amount in 25, 26, somewhere around there. So the way the program does work, we do end up with the loan. 1 year after loan closing, we'll start making payments on the interest only, and then the full payments would start sometime in 2026 after the project is completed. So the longer the project goes out, the longer out the full payments for the project would be. So we'll have that older debt retiring just as it's time to take on a new one. So so the October 2nd meeting is going to have a big one. Again, we'll go over the funding and the project scope for commission consideration. Based on that discussion, we'll have the award for an engineering construction services contract for it. Right after October 3rd, we're going to get the project started. We have a very tight timeline with Eagle. Kind of jumping down a little bit, final plans and specs have to be to Eagle by April 13th. So starting a project this size from October, having to have it done by April 13th is going to be real quick. There's going to be a lot of work. Staff's going to have to pay real close attention to the consultants to make sure they're getting their feedback in there. But it's not a lot of time. After that one, there's some other publishing that Eagle's got to do for the project. Our Part 1 and Part 2 application is due on May 15th, 2024. After that is approved by Eagle, we have to bid out the project no later than May 24th, 2024. That process will be out until a week or so before our July commission meeting, which at the July 1st commission meeting, we'll have the bid award recommendation to the commission. Once that's approved, we have our Part 3 application due to Eagle. After that, there's some closing work for the loans and for the grants, and then we'll have our notice to proceed for next October 2024, and the project would officially start breaking ground after that. So it's a really tight timeline. Again, just kind of giving you some highlights of the projects over here. We requested $35 million. We'll have $17.5 million in grant, $17.5 million in loan at 2%. For the first year after loan closing, we'll only be paying on the interest. Once the project's done, we'll start making our full payments. And again, the idea is to replace debt with new debt once it expires or retires. So just kind of a reminder of what we're trying to do here. The project of this, or the goals of this project, is to improve a lot of our aging infrastructure. A lot of the components of the wastewater treatment plant are 60 years or older. There was one big upgrade about the 80s, but after that, there really wasn't too much, and a lot of the other components are still original to the plant. One of the bigger items that we're trying to work on is within our NPDES permit, which is our discharge permit for the wastewater treatment plant. That's what basically allows us to operate the wastewater treatment plant. There's 3 criteria that's built into our permit. We have to improve the processes to meet our regulatory requirements. We have to increase our process capacity to address current and future needs. And then we have to limit the amount of stormwater infiltration so that we cannot bypass and overflow the collection system. and the wastewater treatment plant. So there's three big goals for us, what we're trying to work on. Just as a reminder again, these are kind of the projects that we're looking at in terms of what the funding would be for. This is what we originally planned for. The ones in yellow is what we'll be moving out for. So we have some work within our preliminary treatment, our secondary treatment, our disinfection system, our electrical I&C and site improvements, and I&C is instrumentation and controls, and biosolids handling. We were trying to figure out what I&C meant for the longest time this afternoon, so. In the collection system, one of our bigger projects is Peck and Meridian, which is about $5 million. You know, replace some sanitary sewer pipe, disconnect the CSO, and put in some storm sewer infrastructure there, so. So just as an FYI, it's a tight timeline. We're gonna try to feed you guys information as we go along, but October 2nd will be a big meeting where the commission will determine the size, scope, funding, what the impact would be. We'll show you what the impact would be on the current rate structure and then move forward that way, so. Any questions on that for the time being? I did email this all to you if you want to refer to it later as well. All righty. Then, last but not least, certainly not that important, I'll be at a city managers conference, UP City Managers Conference, September 7th and 8th of this week. And Tuesday of next week on the 12th, I have to head down to Lansing for a MEDC Smart Zone meeting that I'm required to attend. So just an FYI that I'll be out of the office on those days.
Thank you, City Manager. Anybody have any questions or comments for City Manager or any of the staff that are here? All right, thank you very much. Item I, matters presented by the public. I know Mrs. Olson, if you'd like to come up to the microphone.
Well, as you said, my name is Patty Olson. I have been a docent at the Historic Homes on Water Street for the past several years. Many of our visitors this year were the people that came off the boat cruises, and they frequently asked me these questions, which I would like to talk to you about. One of their first questions was, who owns these houses? 2, they asked, are all these houses considered historic homes? And are they registered as historic homes? My answer to both of these questions was yes, the city owns these houses, and 2, all of the houses are considered historic homes. Just in case some of you do not know where those houses are, they are at the end of the historic homes that listed the historic sites right next to Valley Camp. And there are 4 homes there. The next question they frequently asked was, does your city know and understand and appreciate the history of these homes? For these homes tell the history of several people, John Johnston, Henry Rose Schoolcraft, Bishop Baraga, and the Kemp Museum tells about all of the industries that were once here in the Sioux, such as the tannery, which at one time employed anything between 400 and 800 people. The Power Canal, Kemp Coal Company, all of these are well explained in photographs and by the docent that is in that house. Most of their questions, though, relate to Elmwood, the home the government built for Henry Rose Schoolcraft. He was the Indian agent here and married to Jane Johnson, the daughter of John Johnston. They asked then, as they look at Elmwood, they look in the windows and see junk, or to them it is junk. They look at the frame of the house and it's just covered with bugs and mildew. They look at the porch and barely are able to step on it because it is falling apart. Then they ask the question, does your city really care about this house? After all, they moved it here in about 1950 from its former location at the end of the power canal. At that time, I was visiting with one of our city residents who was in 5th grade. She said they toured it as a museum, and many of the furniture of Peter Barbo was still in the museum. I don't know what happened to it, but now are we going to let it rot away, or are we going to do something? After all, it is one of our historic homes. It tells the story of our people here in our community whom helped make our community what it is today. I was rather disappointed to hear that when we had dignitaries in town for a meeting, that these homes are never shown to them. Why do we have to wait until the boat cruises come through to know about and appreciate these homes? Those people seem to. They are questioning why the homes are not taken care of. Elmwood was built in 1727. It will be celebrating its 200 years in 4 years, just like the John Johnson House celebrated its 200 years this year. Are we going to be prepared and ready to celebrate Elmwood's, or are we going to have just a pile of junk? Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mrs. Olson. We certainly appreciate all the work that you've done as a docent down there, and I know that every time we've gone through there, you do an excellent job, and those are good questions, and I don't know the answer to those, and worthy of a discussion at some point. Certainly, we know that those homes are a big part of our history, and we would certainly like to see something happen with them. We, as you know, our budget has not complied very well in the last few years, but I know there are a lot of groups around, a lot of historic groups, that I think there's enough interest, I think there's enough money in Sault Ste. Marie where some of the Chippewa County Historical Society or Sioux Historic Sites, City of Sault Ste. Marie, I think there's enough people and cooperation around that maybe we could work together to improve the homes, to preserve them and go forward. But certainly somebody's got to start that conversation somewhere. And I'm sure that the City of Sault Ste. Marie would be more than willing to sell or deed the properties to people that would be willing to take care of them and improve them. But certainly, thank you for your comments. Anybody else in the audience like to make any comments? If you could please state your name for the record, we'd appreciate it.
My name is James Prue. I live down on Carey Street, and I want to ask the city if there's any way they can reroute them trucks down Spruce Street when they open that Easter Day up, because my house shakes so bad. The walls are cracked, and if they start with these new, once this road just about gets done, I'm going to have every truck in town going through there. My neighbor says the dishes on his shelf fall off and break. Mr. Jalot says the pictures on his shake. And I think the city, you know, I've been crying on the city manager for a whole year and never got an answer about them trucks going through. So I went to the mayor and asked him to look into it, and he said he was going down to talk to him, and I got more trucks through there that day than I ever got. And nobody got back with me. And my walls are cracked. You people can come down and look at them if you like. And it's not, I'm trying to get a hold of some lawyers. I got a hold of an insurance company. They said, well, we don't do that. I said, well, if you had an earthquake, you'd fix it. So I'm going to get some answers someplace, or I'm going to, you know, try to get some lawyers to do something. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going all the way. Because I don't, at my age, I shouldn't have to sit in that house and feel that house shake all the time. You know, it just, when I grew up right 3 doors down from me, so I'm more than grandfather did than them people, I'll tell you. But I just believe the city should be able to do something, and if they reroute them trucks down Spruce Street, I won't have a problem until they get that fixed next year. But if they open that up, Burton cut a big swath right across the street and put a bunch of dirt in there, that made another big bump. And when them tandem trucks come through there empty, they're worse than when they're full. Now, can anybody do anything about it?
City manager?
I know we've worked and have discussed this a couple of times, but
We discussed it for a whole year.
I will have engineering look at it again to see if there's something we can do. The vibration should stop a considerable amount once Easter Day is done and it's built up to the right specs. But East Spruce, we can't necessarily direct traffic down there because that's not capable of handling it, but I will have engineering look back at it and
You
follow
can't
up.
have it rerouted down Spruce?
I don't believe so, but
Why?
I just don't believe it can handle that kind of traffic, especially on that kind of a turn
Do
there.
you think
But
I can handle it in my house, at my age?
I will have engineering review the path to see if we can divert it, and I'll have them follow up with you, Mr. Prue.
Please get a hold of me, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Peru. Anybody else in the audience that have any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we'll go on to item J, which is matters presented by the city commission. City commissioners,
Just a
Commissioner Rubenstein.
quick event announcement. Pull it up here. So Lake Superior State University Athletics is going to be hosting a family fun day on Sunday, September 17th from 12 to 3 p.m. at the Norris Center. An afternoon of fun for the entire family. So there's going to be carnival-style games, bounce houses, raffles. It's going to be free for kids and $5 for adults, but another fun community event, and this one is going to be supporting Laker Athletics, but just kind of on the heels of the Movies at Dusk that ended up getting moved to Lake State. It's just good to see more community Lake State partnered events, so please come join.
Thank you. Anybody else? Commissioner Bauer.
Your Honor, I move that we adjourn this meeting and head into open session.
Closed
Or closed.
Closed session.
Closed session, excuse me.
Support.
When are they supposed to start hauling that stuff down there in the water?
Are you talking about the carbide dock?
Okay, so the question from Mr. Prue is, when is the material going to start being shipped from the carbide dock? Did I see a release today that it's
It's already piled there, I just wonder when they're gonna start hauling.
Right.
soon?
Yeah, we received a grant award for about $1 million to start hauling that stuff out. So we're finalizing those details. And we got to bid out the work. We'll get a contractor. So I don't know, is it a winter activity or just got to wait? Yeah.
Fall, winter, spring, guess?
Wait till that's finished and then open it up before they start hauling that? Open up the road by me, once they get that paved, they're gonna open it up, and from Seymour,
So-
this way, you know, it's not finished.
Mr. Prue? We're going to close up the meeting, but if you would like to speak to the city engineer, that would be great, if you don't mind. So there's a motion to adjourn? Is there
Yes,
support?
I motion to adjourn
Is there support?
and head into closed session.
Support.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
This meeting is